The throne hall was a sea of shining metal and cold fire. Hundreds of alien warriors stood like statues, their armor black and silver, reflecting the flames that burned in tall glass pillars. The sound of drums echoed like thunder. At the end of the hall sat the alien queen, her long horns like blades, her robe glowing like molten gold. Her eyes were sharp, full of cruel beauty and power. And in the middle of the hall, on the cold floor, stood a single human, Marcus Holly. His uniform was torn, his face marked with blood and dust. His wrists were bound with chains that hummed like electricity. He could feel every eye on him. They were taller than him, stronger, and made for war. He was only human, and to them, that meant weak. The queen leaned forward on her throne, her lips curling into a smile. Then she laughed. The sound was like steel scraping against stone cold and merciless. A human? Her voice boomed across the chamber. This is your champion? This is the creature who dares to speak of honor? The warriors joined her laughter. Their voices shook the hall like a storm. Some beat their spears against the floor, sparks flying. Others spat on the ground, their faces twisted with disgust. Marcus stayed silent. He kept his head up, even when his knees felt weak. He had seen fear before on the faces of soldiers, on the battlefield, but now it was trying to crawl inside him. He pushed it down. He would not give them the satisfaction. The queen stood. Her height was terrifying. Her armor was carved with marks of victory, and on her shoulder hung the skull of something that had once ruled a world. Her voice cut through the laughter like a blade. You speak of peace, human, she said, stepping closer. Her golden robe dragged like a river of fire. You come from a world of water and green fields. A world that thinks words can stop war. Do you know what stops war? Marcus looked at her, his jaw set. Strength, he said. The queen smiled. Wider. Strength, she repeated softly, like a lover's whisper before it turns to poison. Yes, and we are strong. You are soft, fragile. Your bones break. Your blood spills. You are nothing. Marcus felt his fists clench. He wanted to speak, but the queen raised her hand, and the hall fell silent. Her eyes glowed like twin. Sons, I will give you a gift, she said. A chance to prove your courage. Her voice dripped with mockery. You will face the trial of blood fire. The words hit like a hammer. The hall roared with cheers, the warriors stomping their feet. Sparks lit the air like falling stars. Marcus did not know what the trial was, but from the look in their eyes, he understood one thing. It was death. The queen stepped so close he could feel the heat of her breath. Her voice was cold fire in his ear. Survive, she said, her smile cruel and perfect. If you can. Guards yanked Marcus by the chains, dragging him out of the hall. The queen watched him go, her laughter chasing him like a shadow. Gates were black iron, taller than any tower Marcus had seen. Beyond them, the air shimmered with heat. Smoke curled like dark ghosts. The ground rumbled under his feet, as if something alive waited inside. The guard shoved him forward and unlocked his chains. Enter, one hissed. Marcus stepped through. The smell hit him first burning stone, molten metal, and something worse. Blood. The arena opened before him, an endless circle of jagged rocks and rivers of glowing lava. Flames leapt from cracks in the earth. The heat was suffocating, stabbing at his lungs with every breath dot above him. On high platforms, the aliens gathered, roaring with excitement. And in the tallest seat sat the queen, her golden robe shining like a sun against the dark sky. Her voice rolled like thunder. Let the trial begin. The ground shook. Marcus turned and froze. From the smoke came a sound like grinding steel. A creature stepped forward, its body covered in black scales, eyes burning red like coals. Its teeth were long blades dripping with fire. Each step cracked the stone. Marcus had no weapon, no armor, only his hands, his mind, and the will to live. He whispered to himself, his voice low but steady. "You've faced worse. You've faced death before." The beast roared, and the sound tore through the air like a storm. Sparks rained from the sky. The alien crowd screamed with joy. Marcus felt his heart pound like a drum. And then, the gates behind him slammed shut. The beast moved first. Its roar split the air like a blast wave, shaking the burning ground under Marcus's feet. Ash rained from the sky. The heat was alive, crawling over his skin like fire ants. And the thing coming at him was death itself, a monster born from nightmares. Marcus ran. Not because he was afraid, though. Every nerve screamed in terror, but because standing still meant dying in the next breath. The monster slammed its claws down where he had stood a heartbeat ago, and the ground exploded, sending shards of molten rock spinning through the air. The alien crowd roared with savage joy. Hundreds of voices thundered from the towering platforms that circled the arena. Above them all, on her throne of black steel and fire, the alien queen smiled. She leaned forward, her horns catching the glow of the lava rivers that cut across the killing ground. "This is your strength, human?" She called out, her voice echoing like a blade against stone. "Run faster. Run for your soft little life." Marcus ignored her. His eyes scanned the arena. There was no weapon, no armor, no help, only death and heat. He had seen hopeless fights before in jungles, in cities torn apart by war, but this was something else. This was survival against the god's laughter. The beast lunged again, its scales glowing like iron in a forge. Its tail whipped across the ground, smashing stone pillars like paper. Marcus dove under it, rolling across the cracked floor, feeling the heat burn his palms raw. He scrambled to his feet, lungs on fire, heart pounding. His shirt was soaked in sweat. The monster turned, slow and certain, its molten eyes fixed on him. It wasn't rushing now. It didn't need to. To it, this was play. A slow kill. Marcus spoke under his breath, his voice low and steady, even when fear wanted to break it apart. Think, damn it. Then he saw it, the terrain. The rivers of lava weren't random, they were paths. And above them, hanging chains and broken pillars, remnants of past trials. If this was a game, then the arena had rules. Rules meant weaknesses. He ran toward a shattered column as the beast lunged again, its claws missing him by inches. The impact sent a shockwave through the ground, knocking him forward into the ash. He coughed, spat blood, then grabbed the jagged stone of the column and began to climb. The heat burned his skin. His fingers tore open on sharp rock, blood dripping down. Below, the monster roared and slammed its claws into the column. The stone cracked like glass. Marcus climbed higher, teeth clenched against the pain. Come on, he whispered. His heart thundered in his ears. The column shook violently. Pieces rained down into the lava below. At the top, Marcus saw a broken chain, swinging like a serpent. He leapt for it, hands closing on rusted metal, his body swinging out over a glowing river of fire. The chain screamed under his weight, but it held. The beast snapped at him from below, jaws full of teeth like swords. The heat scorched his legs as it leapt, almost reaching him. Marcus swung higher, pumping his legs like a man on a pendulum above hell. Then, as the chain swung toward another pillar, he let go. He hit the stone hard, pain exploding in his shoulder, but he held on. He climbed fast, ignoring the blood running down his arm. At the top of this pillar was what he needed, a long spear, broken and rusted, but still sharp enough to kill. He yanked it free and turned to face the monster god. It was climbing now, claws biting into the stone. The queen laughed softly above, her voice carrying on the burning wind. "Interesting," she said. "Perhaps the little human isn't so soft after all." Marcus gripped the spear tight. His muscles screamed from exhaustion. His lungs dragged in fire, but his eyes burned with something harder than steel refusal. He had not crossed galaxies to die like a hunted animal. The monster leapt for him, jaws open wide. Marcus jumped. Too straight into the air, the spear gripped like lightning in his hands. Time slowed. Heat swallowed the world. And then the spear struck deep into the beast's throat. As they fell together into the fire below Dot, the impact was thunder. Lava exploded around them. The crowd's roar shook the sky. For a heartbeat, Marcus was gone, swallowed by smoke and molten light. Silence fell. Then, from the edge of the pit, a blackened hand gripped the stone. Marcus dragged himself up, skin blistered, clothes burning, but alive. He pulled the spear. Free, dripping with alien blood, the arena trembled with shock. Even the queen did not speak for a long moment. Then, slowly, she rose from her throne, her eyes no longer amused. Her voice was soft, deadly. "Round one," she said, her smile, now a whisper of something darker, "is complete." The roar didn't stop when the beast died. It grew louder, deeper, like something ancient had just woken up. The ground cracked under Marcus's knees as a shadow stretched across the burning arena. He looked up, and his breath caught Dot. It wasn't a shadow. It was a mountain. And it was moving. The Titan rose from the molten river like a god of war. Its body was forged in black steel and lava veins, its horns jagged like broken planets. Its eyes were suns burning, merciless, staring down at the small figure clinging to life on the shattered rock. The crowd fell silent. Even the laughter died in their throats. This was no simple beast. This was the final word of the trial of Ev. Bloodfire, the creature that had ended warriors for centuries. High above, the alien queen leaned forward on her throne, her fingers curling on the steel armrest. Her voice cut through the smoke like a blade. "Show me, human," she whispered. "Show me what you really are." Marcus didn't answer. He couldn't. His lungs dragged fire, his skin burned, his muscles screamed with every move. His arm throbbed from the last fight, and blood soaked his torn sleeve. He felt like a ghost clinging to a body that refused to fall. But ghosts didn't fight. And Marcus wasn't dead yet. The Titan took its first step. The ground exploded, molten rivers bursting like veins. Heat smashed into Marcus like a hammer. His mind screamed to run, but there was nowhere to run. This wasn't an arena anymore. It was a furnace. His eyes darted across the burning chaos. Chains still hung from broken pillars. Cracked columns rose like teeth from the ground. And then he saw a pattern in the destruction, a weakness. The lava pools weren't random. They were connected, and the Titan was standing in the center of them. Marcus whispered to himself, his voice hoarse but steady. Bring it down, or die trying. He ran. Every step felt like knives tearing into his legs. Behind him, the Titan roared, shaking the molten air. Its massive claw slammed down, missing him by a breath, shattering a column into dust. He dove under falling stone, rolling across ground so hot it scorched his skin raw. Pain didn't matter. Fear didn't matter. All that mattered was the plan forming in his head, a soldier's instinct, sharpened by desperation. Marcus scrambled up a broken tower, the stone burning his hands. He leapt for a hanging chain, catching it with blistered fingers. It swayed wildly, swinging him across the pit like a pendulum over hell. The Titan's horned head turned toward him, eyes blazing. It roared and leapt its massive weight, shaking the arena like an earthquake. Marcus climbed higher, ripping a rusted hook from the chain. He wrapped it around another, tying them into a noose with shaking hands. His breath came in gasps, his vision swimming from heat and smoke. "Come on," he muttered through cracked lips. "Follow me, you bastard." He leapt to another chain, swinging toward the central pillar. The Titan lunged after him, its massive claws tearing through stone. The entire arena shook like a dying planet. Marcus landed hard, nearly falling into a river of lava, but he caught the edge, dragging himself up. Then, with the last of his strength, he pulled the chain tight. The noose locked around the Titan's armored neck as it charged forward. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the weight of its own body and the crumbling columns ripped the chain free from its anchor. A Titan stumbled, its balance broken, its massive horns tearing chunks of stone as it fell forward straight into the molten river. The sound was like the world breaking. Lava exploded into the sky. The Titan thrashed, roaring so loud it shattered glass on the highest platforms. But the chains dragged it deeper, molten fire swallowing its black armor until the roar turned into silence. The crowd stared in stunned silence. No one moved. No one breathed. Marcus lay on the stone, his body broken, his skin blistered, his blood soaking into the ash. His vision blurred, the world spinning like a dying sun. He forced his head up just enough to look at the queen. The first time, she was not smiling. Her golden eyes burned, not with laughter, but something new, something dangerous. She rose from her throne, her voice carrying like thunder. "Bring him to me." Guards rushed forward, their armor clanging, their boots scattering sparks. Marcus tried to fight, but his body gave nothing back. His last thought as darkness pulled him under was simple, raw, and bitter. "This isn't over. Not yet." Marcus woke choking. Not from pain this time, but because the air itself was poison. His eyes snapped open to a world of green storms and black sand. Above, the sky boiled like acid. Every breath cut his throat like broken glass. He wasn't in the arena anymore. He was in hell. His lungs burned as he dragged himself upright. The ground was jagged rock, cracked and smoking, as if the planet itself hated life. Far in the distance, purple lightning split the clouds, striking towers of stone until they shattered. He coughed hard, blood spraying his lips. His hands clawed at his neck before he realized why the air. It wasn't just thin, it was toxic. The taste was bitter metal and rot. His vision blurred as his body screamed for oxygen. Then something landed beside him with a heavy thud. A mask sleek. Black alien. He grabbed it without thinking, shoving it onto his face. The hiss of filtered air rushed into his lungs like life itself. He collapsed onto the ground, sucking it in, trembling as color slowly returned to his world. When he looked up, the mask had writing etched into its side. Not Pharaoh language, at least. Not fully. There was something else, like a symbol of rebellion, burned into the metal. And under it, a message scratched in shaky alien script. "Don't die, human. Some of us believe in you." Marcus stared, his chest rising and falling with slow breaths. Someone had helped him. But who? And why risk the Queen's wrath? A shadow passed overhead. Marcus froze, eyes lifting to the green clouds swirling above. Something huge moved inside them, wings the size of warships, circling like vultures. Then came the screech, a high, metallic scream that tore the sky apart. Predators. Hunting. The wind howled as a massive shape broke through the clouds. A creature made of metal and bone, with burning eyes and blades for wings. Its body pulsed, with alien tech, each movement hissing with steam. It circled once, then dived, talons opening like swords. Marcus ran. His boots slammed against black sand, lungs dragging air through the mask in ragged bursts. Behind him, the predator slammed into the ground, claws carving trenches of molten rock. The heat blasted him forward as he scrambled behind a shattered stone spire. The creature turned its head, glowing eyes scanning, its body humming like an engine of war. Marcus could hear the sound deep, pulsing like a heartbeat of metal. It wasn't just alive. It was built. A fusion of beast and machine. The queen's voice thundered from nowhere, rolling through the poisonous wind like a god speaking from the clouds. Welcome to the second trial, human. The air will kill you. The ground will kill you. And the sky belongs to them. Marcus gritted his teeth. His fingers brushed the jagged rock as his mind raced. He wasn't armed. No spear. This time, no chain. Just a mask and a world designed to bury him. Then his eyes caught something half buried in the ash metal, broken, sharp. A piece of a downed drone, twisted and burned. He ripped it free, fingers slicing open on the jagged edge, blood smearing across its surface. He held it tight, his heartbeat sinking with the screech of the creature circling above. Another shadow fell over him. The predator dived again, the wind ripping at his torn clothes. Marcus rolled as claws shattered the stone. Where he had been. He felt the ground shake as the creature's head slammed close, its jaws opening like a furnace. Marcus moved without thinking. He jammed the jagged metal into the beast's eye. Sparks exploded like fireworks as alien blood hissed on the ground. The predator shrieked, thrashing, its wings smashing into the spire and sending shards of rock flying. Marcus dove for cover as the beast tore at itself, blood and oil spraying in a storm. He crawled behind another broken spire, his chest heaving, mask fogging with each desperate breath. The queen's laughter rolled across the poisoned sky, rich and cruel. Impressive. But there are more. Marcus turned his head, and his heart sank. Through the swirling storm came shapes, 10 of them, maybe more circling, glowing eyes burning through the clouds like demons of steel and bone. He pressed his back to the stone, gripping the broken shard like a sword, his breath coming in. Sharp, steady bursts. His voice was a whisper, almost a growl. Fine, come for me. The green lightning flashed, illuminating his bloodied face through the cracked visor of the mask. Above, the swarm screamed as it descended like the wrath of gods. The sky burned green as Marcus ran for his life, and then the ground started to move. Not shake, not tremble, move. The poisoned earth split apart like paper, and from its depths rose something so massive it swallowed the storm. At first, Marcus thought it was a mountain tearing free from the ground. But then it moved legs of black steel, crushing stone, a body bristling with cannons that hissed smoke and fire. Its head was a fortress with eyes like glowing suns. Every step cracked the surface, sending rivers of lava spilling across the jagged land. A voice boomed through the storm, cold and merciless. The final stage of the second trial, the queen said, her laughter echoing like thunder. Behold, the siege beast. Marcus pressed his back to a shattered spire, his chest heaving, mask fogging with every breath. Above him, the storm screamed, lightning flashing off the steel body of the creature. It wasn't just a machine. It wasn't just alive. It was. War made flesh and iron. The alien predators fled, their metallic wings vanishing into the clouds. Even they feared this thing. That told Marcus everything he needed to know. His mind worked fast, cutting through fear like a knife. He had no weapons, no grenades, no rifle, nothing but a shard of broken metal and the fire in his blood. Against this monster, that was less than nothing. The siege beast turned its head, locking its burning gaze on him. Then came the sound, low and deep, like a drumbeat of doom. Each thud was a cannon charging, glowing red along its massive arms. Marcus ran. The ground behind him exploded, molten rock shooting into the sky as plasma cannons ripped the earth apart. The heat smashed into him like a wall, throwing him forward into the dust. He hit hard, rolled, and kept running. Always running. His boots tore across cracked stone, his lungs dragging poison through the filter of his mask. Then he saw it. A scar in the earth. A place where the siege beast had torn itself free. Broken pipes glowed with energy. Alien coolant hissed like snakes in the cracks. A power line pulsed under shattered rock, spilling light like blood. Marcus's eyes narrowed. "That's your heart," he whispered, "and I'm going to cut it out." He sprinted toward the wreckage as the siege beast roared and fired again. Plasma struck close, hurling him through the air. Pain tore across his ribs as he slammed against a jagged pillar. For a moment, his vision went black. When it cleared, he was lying in a pool of glowing liquid. It hissed against his skin, burning. Like acid, he gritted his teeth and dragged himself out, his hands gripping the twisted remains of an alien drone. Its metal body still hummed faintly with power. He tore out its core, a glowing sphere the size of his fist, and stuffed it into his belt. Then he ripped a piece of its leg, fashioning a jagged spear with trembling hands. The shard burned against his palm, but he held on tight. The ground shook again. The siege beast was coming, each step like the fall of a planet. Marcus pressed, his back to the broken pipe, heart pounding like a war drum. He looked at the glowing coolant spilling down the cracks, then at the power line pulsing with alien energy. An idea sparked. Dangerous, stupid, suicidal. Perfect. He tied the drone's power core to the spear with strips of his burning shirt. Then he drove the spear into the pipe, sparks exploding like a small sun. The coolant ignited, turning into a river of fire. The siege beast reached the scar in the ground, its massive head lowering, scanning for him. Its cannons glowed brighter, charging for the kill. Marcus stepped out of the smoke, his face blackened with soot, eyes burning blue with defiance. His voice was low, steady, carrying through the storm. "Come on, you metal bastard." The siege beast fired. Plasma ripped through the earth, but the explosion Marcus triggered hit first. The power core overloaded, sending a surge through the coolant pipes. Energy roared like a living thing, racing under the ground and up into the beasts. Legs, for a heartbeat, nothing. Then the world turned white. The siege beast convulsed, its armored plates glowing red-hot before tearing apart like paper. Fire erupted from its joints. Its cannons exploded outward, raining molten metal across the battlefield. The monster let out a sound not mechanical, not animal, but something in between, a scream that shook the poisoned sky before it collapsed into a lake of fire. Marcus lay face down in the ash, his ears ringing, his body broken. The mask cracked. The air hissed in his lungs like knives. He rolled onto his back and stared at the green lightning tearing across the clouds. His lips curved into a bitter smile. "Still here," he whispered. "Still human." Above the storm, the Queen's voice returned soft, cold, but no longer mocking. "You survived the siege beast." A pause, then something darker, almost hungry. "Now come to me." Asterisk, the chains fell away. Not with force, not with anger. They just opened as if the Queen herself had whispered enough. Marcus blinked. Against the harsh light, his body was wrecked, skin torn, muscles screaming, but he was standing. Not in fire, not in poison. In silence. The throne hall was different now. Gone were the roaring crowds. Gone were the drums. It was empty except for torches casting gold fire against black stone. Shadows stretched like claws across the walls. And at the end of that hall, on her throne of steel and molten glass, sat the queen. She wasn't smiling, not like before. Her horns gleamed in the dim light. Her eyes burned like two suns trapped. Behind ice. Marcus limped forward, every step a war against pain. His boots dragged ash across the polished floor. His breath rattled through cracked ribs. But he walked like a soldier, head high, jaw set. When he stopped before her, she rose. Her presence was a storm, heat rolling from her like a living thing. The air shimmered as her golden robe spilled across the steps, glowing like liquid fire. The first time, she spoke without laughter. Her voice was low, sharp, dangerous. "You should be dead." Marcus's lips curled into something like a smile. "I get that a lot." The queen descended the steps slowly, her every move echoing like a drumbeat. "You survived the trial of Bloodfire. You killed the Titan. You brought down my siege beast." Her head tilted, her eyes piercing his like spears. "No virile warrior has done this, not in 1,000 years." She stopped inches from him. Her height was crushing, her power like gravity. Her voice softened, deadlier than any roar. "Tell me, human, why?" Marcus held her gaze. His voice was rough, but steady. "Because I don't know how to quit." For a long moment, silence. Then the queen did something no one expected. She smiled, not cruel this time, not mocking. Something colder. Something that tasted like danger and curiosity. "Good," she said. Her claws traced the air near his face without touching. "Because this was never about survival." Marcus frowned, his heartbeat a drum in his chest. Then what was it about? The queen's eyes burned brighter as her voice slid into the air like silk over steel. "Choosing my champion, my consort, the one who will stand at my side when we burn the stars." The words hit like a thunderclap. For a second, Marcus thought he'd misheard. "You, what?" She circled him like a predator, her robe sweeping across the floor. "Power is lonely. Human, strength is hunger. For centuries, I searched for a being that does not break, that does not kneel. And now," she stopped behind him, her breath warm on his ear, "I have found one." Marcus's fists clenched. Rage flared like fire in his blood. "You put me through hell to make me your pet?" The queen laughed softly, a sound like velvet hiding a blade. "Not a pet, an equal, or as close as any can be." She moved to face him again, her eyes glowing like suns behind glass. "One choice, human, kneel. And rule beside me, refuse." Her smile turned to fire. "And die." The air between them was molten. His heart pounded like war drums. Every muscle screamed to fight, but his mind burned with something sharper. This wasn't just about him anymore. This was about humanity. Marcus took a slow breath. His voice was iron. "No." The queen froze. Her eyes narrowed. "No?" Marcus stepped forward, his gaze locked on hers. "I won't kneel. I won't rule beside someone who thinks life is a game of blood and fire. I don't care if you kill me." For a heartbeat, silence fell like ash. Then she struck. Her claws flashed like lightning, her speed inhuman. Marcus barely moved before her blade-like nails stopped at his throat, close enough to feel the heat of her skin. The hall glowed red as fire erupted along the walls, flames twisting like serpents around them. Marcus didn't flinch. He stared into her burning eyes and said the words that changed everything. "You don't need a slave. You need someone to stop you from becoming a monster." The flames froze mid-dance. Her hand trembled at his throat. For the first time, the queen's breath hitched, a sound no one had ever heard from her before. Her claws lowered. Her eyes softened. And then she laughed, not cruel, not mocking, but low and dangerous, like a storm breaking. "Very well, human," she whispered. "Then fight me, not with blades. With your will. If you break me, The throne is yours. Asterisk fire rained from the ceiling as the queen stepped into the circle of flame. Her eyes were suns. Her voice was thunder. And Marcus knew this wasn't about death anymore. This was about who the galaxy would kneel to when the war ended. The hall was gone. The world was gone. There was only the circle walls of living. Fire swirling like a storm, sealing them inside. Heat crawled over Marcus's skin, his lungs burning with every breath. Across from him, the queen stood like a goddess of war, her golden armor shedding sparks, her horns glowing against the inferno. Last trial, she said, her voice cutting through the roar of fire. Break me or burn. Marcus staggered forward, his body screaming in protest. Every bone ached, every scar bled. He had nothing left, no weapons, no tricks, no strength to match hers. But he had one thing she didn't. He knew why he was fighting. This wasn't just survival. It wasn't even about pride anymore. It was about choices, and hers. The queen moved first. Her speed was lightning, her claws flashing like molten steel. Marcus barely dodged as the floor shattered where he'd stood. He rolled, his burned hands gripping the edge of the fiery ring for balance, his heart slamming like a war drum. This all? She roared, spinning toward him, her robe igniting into a serpent of fire. The human who defied gods broken and crawling? Marcus gritted his teeth, blood dripping from his lips. Crawling, he growled, forcing himself upright, but still standing. She lunged again. He blocked with his forearm, pain exploding through his bones as her claws scraped sparks. Across his skin, he caught her wrist and held on not with strength, but with refusal. Her golden eyes widened as his grip locked like iron. He pulled her closer, their faces inches apart, fire reflecting in their eyes. You think strength is power? Marcus said, his voice raw but steady. Strength is just a weapon, but will changes worlds. The queen snarled, trying to tear free, but his other hand caught her throat, not to crush, but to hold. His fingers burned against her skin, but he didn't let go. The fire roared higher, wrapping them in a storm of light. Kill me, Marcus said, his voice a whisper through the chaos. Do it, but you'll never have what I have, choice, humanity, a reason to fight that isn't just blood. For a heartbeat, the flames froze mid-dance. Her claws trembled against his ribs. Her breath hitched, sharp as a blade. No one had ever spoken to her like this. No one had ever faced her fire without fear. Then she laughed. Low, dangerous, beautiful. The sound rolled through the inferno like a breaking storm. Enough, she whispered. And then louder, a roar that shattered the firewalls. Enough! The flames collapsed, vanishing like smoke. The throne hall returned, glowing under the soft light of dying embers. Marcus stood in the center, his body wrecked, his hands still locked on her arms. The queen stared at him for a long, endless moment. Then she dropped her claws. Slowly, she sank to one knee. The warriors watching from the shadows gasped as the Queen of Varel bowed her head. Her voice was soft now, carrying through the silence like a vow. You are no slave, no consort, no subject. From this day, you are my equal. Marcus staggered back, barely able to stand. And the trials? He rasped. Ended, she said. Her golden eyes lifted, burning with something new, not hunger, not cruelty, but respect, maybe even faith. Because you showed me what power truly is. He stared at her, ash drifting around them like snow. And what's that? They... Queen smiled not sharp this time, not mocking, but real. Power, she whispered, is choosing not to break when the whole world wants you shattered. The hall erupted with a sound Marcus had never heard from the Varel before. Cheers, deep and thunderous. shaking the steel walls like a living tide. And in that moment, the galaxy changed. Not with war, not with fire, but with one human standing, unbroken before a throne of stars. Final line to give your viewers chills. And across the burning skies, whispers spread like wildfire. The queen knelt not to gods, not to empires, but to a human who would never kneel at all. The end.